So we're recording. Good. So really what we wanted to do today was just to get together to introduce to everybody this new system that we've created for schools to use who are interested in increasing enrollment and success in APIB and dual credit. And this system, we're actually going to launch this nationally. It probably will be available for any school to use. We've already had one conversation with the College Board, and we're having another conversation tomorrow with the National Institute for Science and Math and Science. So there's been a lot of interest in looking at how can we create an online version of the resources, some of the resources that the AAE schools had. So right now we're just calling this Advancing Academic Rigor. We felt like we needed to change the name a little bit because this is a slightly different initiative, but also we wanted to have the history of AAE behind it. So for right now we're just calling this new website Advancing Academic Rigor. So we've created a website for each of the Gary schools, and we've imported everything that we could from your old AAE website. So the data's all been imported, the goals are imported, everything that we could take off of either the student data that was entered or from the grant applications that were submitted last time. We incorporated that information into each of the schools' websites. So when the school logs in, it's real similar to logging into AAE. You just hit the login button, and actually I'm already logged in, but you'll get a screen that asks for a username and password. The username and password will be the same as your AAE username and password. So everything should, just I hope work seamlessly. So this is the new website, what it looks like, and you'll see that the one that I'm in right now is for demo high school. So when you log in, or your schools log in, the name of the school will be up there instead of demo high school. And basically, what we tried to do in this left navigation bar was we tried to capture the components that were in the grant application, which for us, the grant application was really a strategic plan. You had you looked at the achievement data, you came up with data targets or goals, you came up with what we call areas of concern, but you came up with these are the things that are blocking enrollment and success in APIB or dual credit, and then you came up with strategies that you were going to incorporate to address those things that were blocking enrollment and success in APIB and dual credit. So, so we've taken those components out of the grant application, and then we also took the student data component for the group data into this new website. And then we've added a couple of other things that we normally do in a school improvement initiative that we didn't do in AAE just because of the historic nature of AAE. When it came to us, it didn't have these components, and we didn't want to add them in. But now that this is becoming a new initiative, we are going to add them in. So basically, I'll just kind of clip on each of these buttons, and if you have questions, please feel free to interrupt me since this is such a small group. So the first thing is the checklist. This is for all schools, AAE schools, and then also new schools that are joining us. And it's just kind of a process to follow to come up with activities. And basically it's to read an introduction, watch an intro webcast, and then create a steering team, a vision statement, achievement goals, to look for the root causes, which are the things that are getting in the way of raising achievement, what activities you're going to put in place to address the root causes, and then the two progress reports, a mid-year progress report and a year-end progress report. So with all of the other schools outside of Gary, they actually created some of this as their sustainability plan, like for each school, they created a steering team. In Gary, since the funding was going to the Urban League has done this as well. The Urban League came up with a strategic plan and steering teams. But now we're thinking each individual school, it would be good to do that as well. So for each individual school, you would start at the top and then just work your way down. I'm going to go to just work through these side buttons, which you'll see are the same thing as these steps. So the first thing is the introduction. This part is not hot right now. It's not live. This for a non-AAE school, we think this is really important to just have something to read to give them a background of why this is important, rationale, how the online system works, what we're trying to accomplish through the online system. And then there'll be a webcast that goes over how to use the online system. Again, for the AAE schools, this is kind of not necessary because the AAE schools are well aware of this whole initiative and what it's all about. So the first step then would be to create the steering team. And one sec. Excuse me. So we have already dropped in members of the steering team based on what the AAE schools in Gary had in before. So the current project director, the associate project director, the principal, and the counseling director's names should be in here already as members of the steering team. So if you wanted to add a new steering team member, you just click on Add, and this should look very much like it did when we were adding your leadership team for AAE. We're just putting in contact information and then save. So we get the new steering team members in that way. We want to identify one of them as the primary contact. That would be someone that we would connect with if we, for some reason, had wanted to send an email or call one person in the building. Normally, when we send out emails, we send it to all of the steering team members just so everybody's in the loop. But if there's something, that we wanted to contact one person, this would be that person. So if I click on that, I see here are here are all the people that are on my steering team right now. I would just click the one that I want to be the primary contact and then save. I can print the steering team roster, and then I can edit information for a steering team member. So let's say that for your Gary schools, we've dropped in the counseling director, but the counseling director is no longer in the building, so we want to change out that person. You can just click on Enter Edit. Oops. First thing you have to do is highlight a person, and then click on Enter Edit. And you can change that person's contact information. You can make them inactive by clicking this button that takes them off as an active person. So that's how you edit information about a steering team member. And then you can also get a tool out where you can send an email to all of the steering team members. So if you want to remind the local in the building steering team that there's a meeting coming up, you can just click this, and that will give you a list of email addresses, and you can just copy that and then put it into the to box. Okay, so that's steering team, and that really is very, very similar to what the schools did with AAE, so I don't think there would be any problems there. The vision statement is something that's really different. In the beginning of working with AAE, we had a lot of discussion. Judy Libby had a lot of discussions with the schools about, what is our dream? And, we all kind of came up with our dream is that all kids would enroll in APIB or dual credit. Adults would be providing programming that would help those kids not only enroll but be successful. And then kids would also have certain practices that they would do. So we've created, this is a format that we use in all of our initiatives that works very, very well. And basically, we're asking people to write 4 different sections to a vision statement. The first one is just answers the question, what do you believe that all kids deserve? What we're looking for here is the core convictions that a community holds for their kids. So in this case, we believe that all students deserve to be surrounded by a culture where adults not only hold high expectations for students, but also clearly convey those expectations to every student in concrete terms. So that's just a belief that in this demo high school, it's a belief that they hold in their heart of hearts. We believe that all students deserve a rich and vast array of options for their future. So we suggest that the steering team get together and they talk about, what do we believe that all kids deserve, and that's a foundational piece for this work. Then in the second paragraph, we're saying, okay, in this ideal pie in the sky, lofty, ideal world, what are the adults doing? So we're describing it in the second section, the ideal adults. So if in this environment where all kids are going to be successful in very rigorous courses, what are the adults doing? So we're describing, all the different things that adults would be doing, both in school and out of school, to set up an environment where kids could be successful. And then in the third part, we're looking at, in this ideal world, what percentage of students are demonstrating practices that will help them succeed in an AP, IB, or dual credit course. So one practice is that they have to enroll in the course. Another practice is that they come to school on a regular basis. They engage in class. They complete their homework on time. And they participate in extra help if they're struggling. Those are practices that we want to see kids show. And we haven't done this yet, our programmer is still working on this page a little bit, but there will also be an option to add additional practices that the school would define. And then we're just saying in this ideal, lofty pie-in-the-sky school, what are the percentage of kids that are demonstrating each of these practices? So when we start to get to these percentages, a lot of times this really opens up some good discussions about, do we really have lofty ideals for all kids, or is it all but the low-income kids, or all but the mobile kids, or all but special ed kids, or do we really have, if we had a magic wand and could wave it, do we really have ideals for all kids? It's a very rich discussion. And then one other thing on here is that our programmer is adding for each of these questions an Indiana link, which if you click on it, it will take you to data from the Learn More survey, which we also do. But it will, and on the Learn More survey, there's a question around each of these things. So we ask the students, have you had fewer than 10 absences a year? Do you ask questions in class? Do you turn in your homework on time? And so you can pull data off of the Learn More survey that students took last spring to put in here, so that it's not just a guess, but you're basing your percentages, so that you have that information. And then finally, the last question is, in an ideal world, what percentage of students are succeeding in AP, IB, or dual credit course? If you had a magic wand, you could wave it over all kids and anything could come true. What's the ideal? And again, for this demo high school, I've just dropped in some samples so that the schools who are working on this can go back later and kind of see what this might look like. So let me go back to the vision page. And then also on the vision page, then I can open up a report that shows the school's vision statement. This vision also is going to be dropped into the funding proposal later so that funders can see what the school's dream is for kids as well. Okay, so that's the vision statement. On the goals, the intro and the webcast are not live, but for an AAE school, this will be second nature. We took this out of the AAE grant application. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to review achievement data, and I'm going to click on Enter Edit. And these 4 data tables are ones that we've always used with AAE. So I've got a group data for AP enrollment and performance, group data for IB, group data for dual credit, and then unduplicated, non-duplicated data for the students who have been in either an AP, an IB, or dual credit course. So these are the exact same data tables. I'm able to change years. So at the end of this year, I can, drop in new data. But if I click on one of these, you'll see this is, exactly the same as what we've done before. And then I can put in Enter Edit and just drop in numbers like we have in the past. When a Gary school opens this up, there will already be data in there for 11-12 because we pulled that off of the data that the Gary schools put in last summer. Okay, so first step is to look through this data and kind of determine what areas we want to see improve, and then also we're going to look at how much we want them to improve, and that's a new something new that we never did in AAE, but we've done it in all of our other initiatives. So step 3 was to review the existing data, and then step 4 is to set achievement goals. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Enter Edit. I've already entered in a couple of goals for demo school, but let's just say I haven't. The first thing I'm going to do is put in a enrollment goal. And you'll see this looks very similar. It's kind of a niftier package, I think, but it's very similar to what schools did before. So the goal is to increase the percentage of students who have taken 1 or more. I would select the course. Then I'm going to put in 2 years of historical data, so 30%, 32%. And then I'm going to say, okay, I'm already implementing some activities this year. I think I'm going to get that up to 40% by the end of this year. And then for the end of next year, I want to keep improving this. I'm going to get up to 50%. And then I just hit Save, and that'll pull it into the data targets. So here you can see the one that I've already saved, a percentage of graduates who have taken 1 or more AP course, 30, 45 are actual, and then the target data that I put in, what I'm trying to reach is 60. In this year, and then we're going to try to maintain the 60 next year. So that's performance data. That's enrollment data. The same thing for performance data. Goals go in the same way. And then on in the targeted student groups, this works a little differently. If I'm putting in a targeted enrollment goal, first of all, I'm going to say it's not all students, but who am I focused on? So I know in a lot of the AAE schools, they focused on reaching their free and reduced lunch kids for low-income kids. So this goal is not for all kids. In addition to all kids, this is a pinpointed goal, a targeted goal just on free and reduced lunch kids. And let's say it's enrollment in AP. And when I look back at that data, let's say that the enrollment for my free and reduced lunch kids has been much lower than all students. So while all students, the target was 60, maybe for my free and reduced lunch kids, I'm going to put the target at 40 and maybe maintain 40, or maybe increase that even more in the following year. So that's how you put in the overall goals for all students, and then how to put in the targeted student group goals. So, okay, and then we put a little caution at the bottom. That schools should not create a goal unless they're willing to implement activities that will help their school reach that goal. So, so I wouldn't want to, target my low-income kids unless I'm specifically going to put in activities to address the needs of those kids. Okay, so that's achievement goals. And should I pause here? Any questions so far? Terry, are we making sense? Did I lose Terry?
Is she still there?
Yeah, she's here. Was she? Terry?
It's actually Gloria now.
Okay, Gloria. Is this kind of making sense?
Yes, it is.
Okay, good. Good. And Okay, so that's achievement goals. Now, this next part, the root cause, is the part that we've done in conversation in AAE, but we've never actually written it down. And in all of our other initiatives, we always make this a formal writing it down step. Basically, what we're doing in this section is we're saying, okay, what's getting in the way of AP enrollment, or what's getting in the way of dual credit success? So we want to do a data analysis, and in the future, we'll have a student survey that you can actually give your students that will help you determine if student engagement is getting in the way, or there aren't extra help programs in the school, or kids don't feel that people hold high expectations of them, you know, all those things that can get in the way of enrollment and success. So, but we don't have that survey done right now. That's going to be a huge project. And again, it's not something we had in AAE, but we normally, in our initiatives, put in a way for the schools to collect data to help them figure out what's getting in the way. So instead, we're going to review force field data here, and I can click Enter Edit, and this gives you, again, those areas that we know impact enrollment and success, and then data from the Learn More survey, again, that you'll be able to put out there that shows that where you currently are. This vision data, the system pulled off the vision statement. So whatever numbers you put into the vision statement will appear here. And then you can pull the Indiana data from the Indiana survey. And let's see, I've not seen this yet. Our programmer's been working on this today. So let's say ask for extra help when they're confused. If I click on this, that should take me, and it's not doing it right now. He must still be working on that. But at any rate, this will take you to the Learn More survey, to that question on the Learn More survey. And again, if your students surveyed last year, and I know a good number of the GIG schools did have their students take the Learn More survey, but if you did, the data will pop up there. And if not, you'll just have to guess and or find that data some other way in your building. And then make sure you give the Learn More survey this coming spring in March and April, May, so that you can pull data off of that survey to help you understand what's getting in the way of kids enrolling and succeeding in your classes. So, so I've looked at this data, and then the next thing I'm going to do then is I'm going to come up with root causes. So in this case, when I looked at that data, I discovered that not enough students are participating in our tutoring programs. So I put that in as a root cause. And what I'm thinking ahead, saying, man, if I could address that, if I could get kids to participate in our tutoring program, I'm going to have a greater success in AP, IB, and dual credit. And then also I recognize that in this school that AP kids are absent every day. And so I'm thinking, too, that if I can get kids to school, they're going to become, be more likely to be successful at school. So to add a root cause analysis, after looking at that data and thinking about what is interfering in our building, I would just click Add a Root Cause Analysis, and then we are concerned that whatever it is, students don't ask questions in class. And then if I have data in there, I can add that, the Learn More Indiana survey shows that, and then just save it. And again, we encourage schools, don't include a root cause unless you're planning to do activities to address that root cause. Okay, so that's root causes. And then finally, I'm down to activities. And this is, in our work, a lot of times schools want to jump directly to activities. But we really think going through this process of identifying the goals and then what's getting in the way of those goals sets you up for identifying the right activities. In all of our initiatives, our schools improve at a greater rate than schools that don't work with us. And we think it's because of this process that when they get to activities, their activities are really targeted. So I'm going to click on activities. Again, there will be some intro work, which I don't think the AAE schools necessarily need. But there will also be, in the future, a tool where you'll be able to search what other schools have done. So if attendance is an issue at your school, you can go in and type in the word attendance and see what other schools have done around attendance to address attendance. So, but that's coming in the future. So for right now, you just enter your activities. So I'm going to click on enter, and you can see I've already put in a couple of activities. One to just make people aware that we have tutoring available, and then the other one is to set up a new homework club. To add an activity, you just click on add an activity, put in activity title, description, who's going to participate, when the activity will be completed by, and then where are you going to get your funding for this activity. So this may be that you're going to seek funding from Urban League of Northwest Indiana. It might also be the YMCA or your academic parent booster club, or whatever sources that you may want to use. So this does not have to be just the Urban League. It could be other funding sources as well. And then also we'd like you to identify what are the areas that this activity is addressing. Is this a student recruitment activity? Is it a professional development activity? Whatever. And then just save the activity. So that gets you your program activities listed. And then there's lots of different reports over here that come out. For example, I can do an activity summary. That just gives me a list of activities and a one-paragraph little description about the activity that you put in. I can put in a calendar, and that tells me when the activities are going to be completed by. And then I can also do a detailed report that gives me the activity title, description, who's participating, when it's going to be completed by, where the funding is coming from, if any, and then what elements are being addressed by the activity. So that's how to get the activities in. And let me pause there. Gloria, any questions? Terry, Belinda, so far so good?
So far, great.
Okay, so that's the last step. A couple other tabs to show you. There's this resource tab. That is a set of resources that we're building. There's funding resources. And one thing you might find really interesting is we pulled off from all of the old AAE funding applications. You may remember we asked you what other sources are you using for funding besides the Lumina funding. And this link goes to a list of all the other places that schools have used, that the AAE schools have used to get funding. Excuse me. So you might check to see, where are other schools getting funding for AAE kind of stuff from, and there may be those local funders in your community too that you can go to for funding, in addition to the generous funding that you've gotten from Legacy Foundation and through Urban League. Okay, then we've also put in a funding source list that we've created, and that is similar to one that we gave you with AAE. Down the road, there will be resources for each of these key elements. We're building those resource pages now. Okay, and then finally, the thing that I think is really cool about this is that we've created for you a funding proposal tool. And this is, I think, Urban League is going to be asking you to use this funding proposal tool to create the funding application that you'll send to them. But you can also use this funding proposal for anybody else that you want to ask for money. you can see there is an introduction and instructions, that's hot, and then the enter edit for adding new funding proposal. And you can see I've already created 2 funding proposals. One that demo school would be sending to Urban League, and then another that demo school will be sending to YMCA. So let's say I have another, let's say there's that you're going to send a funding proposal to your school board. So how would you do that? So I'm going to click on Enter Edit, and you'll see that these are the steps for creating your funding proposal. We're going to use the information that you've already entered, and we just need to tell the computer what information you want to include. You'll see that 2 of the steps are already checked off as done. One is creating the rationale and purpose. We wrote that for you, and I'll show that to you as we go through. But you're going to be able to edit it, but I thought just to save you some time, and because we've worked with this area a lot, that we would just create a rationale and a purpose for your funding, and then you could edit it to totally meet your needs. The other thing that's already created totally is your vision statement. What the computer did was it just pulled your whole vision statement that you entered before into your funding proposal. So step is to add basic information. So I'm going to give this funding proposal a name. So I'm going to call it School Board Funding Proposal November 2012. Initiative name is, let's say I'm creating funding for a AP, I'm looking for funding for an AP recruitment dinner. And then the contact person, Jane Doe, title, AP math teacher, phone number, and then email. Okay, and then I'm going to mark that this section is done. I can save this section, I can even save and return, but when I mark that this section is done, I'll show you what happens. So I click there, I click Save and Return, and now the computer has put a little check in front of step 1. So I know I don't need to go back and do step 1 again. I don't need to go in and look. It's done. So next thing is the school description. And in here, you would enter a description about your school. I would include demographics for your students, also achievement data for your students, SAT scores, percent who passed state tests, and then all the demographics, where your school is located, what your enrollment is, the percent minority, percent free and reduced, all that stuff. If you don't know that, it's really easy to get to that from the DOE website. I'll show you real fast. If you go to, it's doe.in.gov, and when that website opens up, if you just click down, go to Now Trending, and click on School Data, and then enter your school's name, and oops, let me go to a different school. Gloria, what score are you at?
West Side. You have to type West Space Side. 2 words. There it is. Leadership Academy.
Oh, right here. Okay.
4163.
Yeah. So if I go to enrollment and attendance, You know, this is interesting. This is where it should be, and I've never seen it not show up before, so I don't know if DOE is doing some update on its site.
But I know how to get to the enrollment in the data.
Yeah, usually there's bar graphs that you can go on top. Anyway, but this is where you come to get that. So, so then mark this section as done, save and return. And then for goals, when you edit that section, you all you're going to do is you're going to say, okay, this is an AP enrollment activity that I'm funding, so it is going to impact enrollment. So I'm going to click that this activity will impact this goal. It's probably not going to impact performance so much, so I'm not going to click that. And also my targeted student group, the percentage of free and reduced lunch graduates who have taken one or more AP courses, this activity is probably going to impact that one too. But again, not so much in performance. So I've got two goals that activity is going to impact, that this funding proposal is going to impact. And then I'm going to mark as done, go on. And the next section is root causes, and I'm going to click on that. And when I look at these root causes, this is about what I want to fund here is an initiative to get people to enroll in AP classes. But none of my root causes are saying that I have a problem with enrollment in AP classes. So I'm stuck here. This activity, my funding proposal, is not going to hit any of my root causes. And what it's made me realize is that I'm missing a root cause. That one of the things I am also concerned about is that kids are not enrolling in AP. So I can go back to the root cause entry page by just clicking right there. And now I'm going to add a root cause. We are concerned that too few students enroll in AP courses. And I'm going to save that. And now when I go back to my funding proposal, and I'm now going to edit the school board one, I can come down to root causes, and now I can see that that I have too few students enrolled in AP. That's what this activity is going to address. I'm going to mark this section as done and save and return. So now I've got my root cause in. The next thing is to enter in activities. And I'm looking here and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I don't have this AP dinner in here either. So I'm wanting to fund something that's not in my overall plan. So I can just go right back up here and pull it in, add an activity. So I can just add it in, AP recruitment dinner. And then who's going to participate, invited incoming 9th graders. Deadline, this is going to happen in, I don't know, April. Oops, I have to do it from the table here. It's going to happen on April 17th. And my funding is going to be, I hope, the school board. And my amount is $300. Key elements, this is student recruitment. Okay, now I'm going to save, and now I can go right back to program activities. I'm sorry, right back to the funding proposal, and it's the school board funding and proposal, enter edit, and in their proposal I want to fund, so I'm going to click on activities, and I want to fund this AP recruitment dinner. Mark this section as complete. Save and return. Okay, then the last thing is to enter the budget. So this budget page should look real familiar. It's exactly like the budget page that you did in your AAE grant app. So on this one, this is a recruitment dinner. So I'm going to put on this section, this is an AP recruitment dinner, and that it's going to be 30 students at $10 each, gives me an amount of $300. And then when I put that in, it changes the amount on the right-hand column, and then also changes the amount on the bottom. So this section is done. Save and return. Okay, so now on my funding proposal, all the sections are done. I can open a funding proposal draft. So this is then what I would give to the school board, or when you're writing the funding proposal for the Urban League, this would be what you would give to the Urban League. We suggest that you highlight this and then copy it into a Word doc so you can do any final edits on it. So you would just highlight the whole thing and then right-click and then copy and then open up a Word doc and paste it into there. I would especially make sure, since we wrote your rationale and purpose, that if this doesn't sound like words that would come out of your mouth, or if this isn't exactly right for you, I would definitely edit that part. Also in this section, you might customize this so that it aligns with the mission of your individual funder. So if you know that a funder's purpose is this, you can kind of tweak this section to make sure that you're showing how you're helping the funder to reach the funder's goals as well. But you've got your school description, your rationale and purpose, the vision statements in there, your goals, your root causes, the activities, and then your budget. So, and then it's just a matter of copying and pasting, put it into a Word doc, and you can either hand your funder a paper copy or email attach it in an email to a potential funder. So, so that's it. That's that. And then the very final tab is just logging out. So that's the system. We're hoping, on each of these tabs that have an intro and webcast in the front of them, that stuff is still being developed for schools, so that schools that we've never worked with before can just kind of have a step-by-step process through thinking through and creating a strategic plan for increasing enrollment and success in APIB and dual credit. So that's that. Questions?
Is there a way we can go back and view this webinar?
Yes. Yeah, I've been recording it, so because you've registered, as soon as we finish, the GoToMeeting will archive the recording, and then it will send you an email that has a web address to go to see the archived version.
Okay. Now, will that only be sent to Ms. Ransom, or will that also be sent to Gloria?
It will be sent to Gloria, because Gloria is registered. I mean, it should be sent to Gloria. But
okay.
Just to make sure, maybe, Terry should send that to you.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, she could just forward that email to Gloria.
Okay.
And one other thing, when you log in, I mentioned that, let me go back out here, that when you log in, you're going to enter, to log in, I don't think I talked about this. Let me just open up a new. You would just go to www.asainstitute.org. That's our email address, or our web address. And then at the end, just do /AAR. Used to be in AAE, you would have just put AAE there, but now just do AAR, and that'll pull you up into the login page. And then when you click on that, just enter the same login username and password that you used for AAE. If you want to go to demo school, which I've kind of put things in to see, what a sample vision statement would look like and what the goals ended up looking like. When you log in, if you use demo123 for both the username and the password, you'll go to demo school. Just make sure that you log out of demo school before you log in as your own school. And same thing vice versa, log out of your own school before you log into demo school. So, but that would allow you to just go in and play around and see, different parts in a school that's already developed.
Okay.
So, and as always, if there's things that we could do to make this a whole lot easier for you, please feel free to let me know. Our goal is for this to be a web-based program that thousands of schools can use. And the more simple and user-friendly we can use it, we can make it, the better. So I would really appreciate any advice that you have for us.
Okay.
So, and if there's any other schools that you know of, like I know that there's other schools in Gary besides the one in your school district, any school in the country can get a free subscription. They just click on that free subscription page and enter the name of the person that's ordering the subscription, and then we'll create the site for them. So if you have friends that work in other states or other schools in Indiana, we'd love them to use the system. So I think that's it.
Okay.
Any questions?
No.
Shirley, do you have anything you want to add?
I was going to ask if you were going to send an email when the next webinar is going to be held. Send that out to all of the project managers.
Okay, I will. We'll probably send that out actually it'll be this week. Yeah, it'll go out to all the project directors, including the Gary project directors, a reminder of how to register for that, yes.
And that's December 3rd.
Right, December 3rd at 3:30. And it will be pretty much exactly the same as what we just did.
Oh, okay.
So really, I mean, your folks are going to have a choice of watching the archived version, or if they want to participate and ask questions, they could do the live version on December 3rd.
I was thinking of the schools that were not able to participate today.
Yeah, either one. Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay.
That'd be good. Yeah, and then I'm assuming, Shirley, that you'll be providing the Gary schools with a deadline of when you want their application to be submitted to you?
Yes.
Okay. Good. Okay, anything else? Well, thank you all very much, and again, thank you to Urban League. I mean, I'm just so thrilled that this has found a home in Gary, and I know Judy Libby is just ecstatic that this is going to continue up there. So really, really appreciate that. So feel free to give me a call if anything doesn't work the way you think it should be working, or if you have questions, and we'll go from there. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Okay,
Your
bye-bye.
support. Bye-bye.